one and then a mile of zeros. That's what they call the day of Brahma. And then after that, Brahma, like the tide, after it's been pulled in, it goes out and it washes everything that ended up on the beach and draws it back into itself. And for the one with a mile of zeros, it sleeps. What it says is that anything that is conscious of itself and has the ability to perceive itself as separated from anything is participating in the dream that the Creator is having of itself. So when the Creator sleeps, we exist. Because if it was awake, it would be the all in all, conscious as consciousness, and be not separated unto itself. It can only do that while it's asleep. And isn't that the reason too? Here we are. Most of us are asleep, gods, and don't know it. And the secret is that an aspect of the Creator throughout all of the existences that can be ever understood. I'm talking about levels of dimensional consciousness that has billions upon trillions of stars, and then other levels above that and behind that and below that and inside that. Just imagine infinity, eternity, and everything, a soup of reality that goes on constantly, period. And inside of all of that, the Creator, that central mind inside of all of that, is participating in itself through you. It's a hell of a responsibility. You are the school for the Creator. So what the teacher gonna do? Yes, brother.
Is that where the concept of born again, the Christian people?
Yeah, the born again Christian, again, another, how do you say it, the distortion of born again. Born again is the awakening to the inner, not the outer. You see? Born again means that you had one birth first, which was into the outer world. The born again now is into that which is within you. And what did it say above the temples in Kemet? Know thyself. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on. Now I opened the door. You want us to get ready to get back into this?
Yeah.
More so we can understand more of this?
Yeah.
Okay. My pleasure. Oh, question. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, to reiterate what you were saying, meaning that when you become one with the universe, as far as being born.
Yes, but we can't perceive of the universe as anything that we can see distinct from ourselves. So again, when we make language to try to identify consciousness in such a state as to not put any prejudicial definitions within it, what we do and what we end up doing is limiting the observer's ability to interface with the thing. We're not allowing, if we put the description of it, universe, what does that mean? Oh, stars. We're not allowing it to talk to us from the subtler aspects that we don't see of it. There's no such thing as non-conditioned space. Space is a conditioned fullness. Just because you can't feel a tangible reality within the construct that we operate in, this is an environment that was given for us to operate in, so that nothing interferes with the lesson plan going on for these creatures down here. But every now and then we have people who fuck with the school, and what they do is they introduce technologies that disrupt the spatial relationship of dimensions so that we can't maintain that agreement. And then we open holes in the reality and start letting in things that become parasitic to us. You see? And then we begin to degenerate, and the ship that we're sailing in begins to sink. So, not to say you were correct, you're totally correct in calling it universe. I call it omniverse, one. The omniverse itself or the spectroverse, which is light, or the photoverse. All these different words that we deal with, the word verse means word. Omniverse is one word. And that's it for me. Om. That's the sound, one of the highest sounds in the universe. Hu is another one. All is sound. All is vibration, all is frequency, all is wave, all is particle. And if we understand those dynamics, we see that there's a bunch of particles in here that create and constitute the whole entitled body. Each one of you is a billion universes. Do you know that every time you incarnate, the more cell structures you have, the more atomic cells and the atoms you have, listen carefully, excuse me, the more cells that you have per spatial relationship in your body, the more advanced and more times that you've been back into the physical form and made your transition back and forth into spirit and flesh. Because for the more cells you have in your body, the more atomic structures, the more atomic universes you have in your body. Which means you've done this a whole lot of times before. Okay? Anybody else with their hands? Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Brown, you asked a question about do some have a beginning. One thing that we emphasize on, some do have a beginning.
What does?
Sure as hell is not us. We have no beginning and no end.
Well, yeah, oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying, well, white folks. Well, you see, that's not even a beginning. Essentially, if they were taken from something that existed, that's not a beginning. It's just a transition of perception and consciousness that exteriorizes itself as a phenomenon. So, if we were another type of conscious and intelligent species, our downside would have a whole other representation that may come based upon the reality index that we operate under. So if white folks are our disease, if I was somebody from the 25th dimension, something else would be my disease. Based upon the context and the way that I operate the atomic algebraic formula of existence. You see. So based on our use of algebraic atomic configurations, we created this. So we say, well, no, man, well, who the fuck was Yaku? That was a sick asshole. He wanted to create white folks to do work for him. Lazy motherfucker. No, he wasn't creating a better man. He wanted slaves. Period. And that's where they got this, the book Frankenstein from. Because the monster got out of the lab and fucked up the town. Didn't he come back and fuck up your town? Well, that's who he is. That's why Frankenstein was the #1 story and the #1 monster. And then Dracula came right after that. Blood-sucking motherfucker just like he is. All his monsters tell you who he is. Wolfman. Huh? Freddy and Jason? Yeah, that's who he is. Don't you know he's projecting onto you who he is? X-Men. That shit is so contrary to reality. X is female, so you can't be X-Men, it's X-Women. We got a lot of X-Men out there. They're in the gay pride parade.
Phil,
You.
dealing with that